Saturday is World Migratory Bird Day, and the theme for this year is Protect Insects, Protect Birds. Our friends from the Columbia Audubon Society, they join us today to share more about native birds, plants, and insects in the Midlands and what we can do to help our local ecosystems. Joining us today is the president of the Columbia Audubon Society, Brad O'Brien. We're so excited to have you joining us here again today to teach us something.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, and we're so excited. So let's start with the theme. So
Okay.
Protecting birds, protecting insects. A lot of us are kind of like, y'all ready?
Exactly.
Thinking about
exactly.
them. So tell us more about it.
Yeah, so sure, the theme encourages people to think about the importance of insects. You know, like you mentioned, it's easy to like birds, but a lot of us think of insects as pests and are just looking for ways to get rid of them. But if we care about birds, we should also care about insects. And, you know, there are a couple of reasons for that. Insects are very important for birds' diets. Like in a lot of cases, insects are food for birds, but they also help produce food for birds. And, you know, an example of how insects are food for birds is caterpillars. A lot of people don't realize this, but caterpillars play an important role in birds' diets. You know, a very simple example is one of our very common birds, the Carolina chickadee. It's a small black and white bird. There was some research done on the amount of caterpillars that a chickadee will consume during nesting season. A nest of chickadees can consume up to 300 caterpillars in a day.
Wow,
In a day. And that's just one example of how important insects are to birds in a day.
Where are they finding these caterpillars? I haven't seen any.
That's an excellent question. And I think that's part of the reason for this theme is to get people to think about that. And one place they're finding them is on plants, but not just any plants. It has to be native plants that the caterpillars have adapted to consume. You know, a lot of plants have defense mechanisms that will keep bugs from eating them. You know, a perfect example of that is milkweed. But monarch caterpillars have adapted to eat milkweed, and it's the same for a lot of other caterpillars. You know, a perfect example is an oak tree. An oak tree supports up to 500 species of caterpillars. So a lot of times you will see birds in oak trees and they're looking for caterpillars because they know that's where they are.
That's insane.
That
is insane. And species, and then the amount of each species is insane to think about. But you know, I'm going to jump our questions here. That kind of leads me to my next question, which is, what can we do? So I'm assuming planting these trees and these flowers help the insects, help the birds, help in the circle of life.
That's right. You know, another example, I mentioned that insects help produce food for birds as well. And seeds and berries. So a simple example is purple coneflowers. It's an absolutely beautiful flower. It's a native flower. You can plant it in your yard. It'll benefit the bees, and if the bees pollinate it, then it will produce seeds that will be covered with, and goldfinches, a very beautiful native bird, will be all over your purple coneflowers eating seeds this time of year.
Wow.
So plant native plants to support the insects, and you end up supporting the birds as well.
That's definitely important to think about, and I appreciate you bringing awareness to that. Now, I want to talk about some of the migrating birds. So we have birds that are rolling in, and then some that are rolling out.
That's right. So one that a lot of people notice that's rolling out is the ruby-throated hummingbird. You might see a few hanging around your feeders, fattening up, you know, for the trip south. Another popular bird that people look forward to in the summer that's leaving right now is the Mississippi kite. They're on their way south right now, and you know, like you said, it's also happening the other way. So some birds that come in that people really get excited about are Baltimore orioles. They're beautiful black and orange birds, and people get very excited when they show up to their feeders. Another bird that people like to see is juncos. You'll see them on the ground. They're beautiful gray birds. You'll see foraging on the ground. So, I mean, those are just a few of the birds that come in for the winter.
Does anyone stay? What birds?
They do. No, it's interesting. A lot of people think most birds migrate, but actually a lot of the birds stay. They're resident. So cardinals, you'll see them year-round. Bluebirds, you'll see them year-round. Blue jays, you'll see them year-round. And there might be some shifts. Like migration is kind of all over the place. You know, so sometimes birds will just go a short distance, and you might see the same species of birds in your yard that you see in the summer, but they might be different individuals.
Oh.
So
families coming to visit.
Right. There's a lot of variability in migration.
That is so interesting. Now, let me ask you this. I bought some bird seeds. Look, this is because he's here. I got to ask him.
Sure.
I bought some bird seeds. It says it's for all small birds, but when you're wanting to like create bird feeders to feed these birds, I know we want to focus on the insects, especially with the theme for Migratory Bird Day. But what if we want to, you know, put food in the bird feeders for the birds? What types of things should we be thinking of for our native birds?
It's a good question. And winter is actually, a great time of year to put out bird food because there aren't as many caterpillars around. There might not be other food. So, a variety of seeds. And, it depends on what kind of birds you want to attract. For example, some birds will eat nuts and some will eat small seeds. So if you have a nice mix, and like dried fruit, so if you can get a nice mix that has seeds, dried fruit, nuts, you'll attract a lot of birds. Something else is suet. These little cakes.
Yeah.
And they're very high in protein, and you can put them in little cages, and the birds will go to it and eat that. So that's something else good for birds this time of year.
Nice. Well, we're going to wrap things up here. I want to pull the details up for an event that you're all going to be at this weekend with the Riverbank Zoo and Garden. You're going to have you're going to be celebrating World Migratory Bird Day. So whether you're feeding birds at home or you want to come to this amazing event that you all are going to be a part of, tell us the details of how long you all will be set up there.
Sure. So we're going to have a table at the zoo, and I think we're going to be there from 9 to noon. And come by and see us and ask us questions. You can learn more about what Columbia Audubon does. Sign up for our newsletter. We'll probably have a calendar of bird walks at the table. We have a lot scheduled for the fall and the winter. And, if you have questions about migratory birds, insects, or anything about nature, we're happy to answer them for you.
I know a guy. Awesome. Well, Brad, thanks so much for joining us. We are going to take a quick break, but first, our Billie Jean Shaw is standing by. She is having a blast at the fair right now, skipping the lines, getting the food. Billie Jean, what are you up to now?